Thanks, my great friends at
Significans.
Significans.
It's all yours, my friend, it's all yours.
So some of you know us and some of you don't. So Bay Cities, we're located in Pico Rivera, California, and we're corrugated packaging, display, fulfillment. We also have gotten into logistics and also item creation and tracking. So we pretty much do a lot in different areas. So basically, one of the challenges we had was custom inks and how to deal with custom inks. So in dealing with the custom inks, you go through a pre-press, you go onto the press, they do the job that the customer needs to get the inks right. So we've all been through those problems, right? And then once you get the corrections done and whatever has to happen to make that ink print properly on the press, where does that go? What do you guys all do? A lot of companies I went and saw before this, you took your proof, went on a shelf with a piece of paper explaining all the changes that were done on those items. So you started having all these storage areas where you're keeping track of everything. The idea here is this is going to help us keep track of our colors, reducing the variables, the cost, the manpower, all the different timing that's going into effect to control your color, because color is the most important thing. What happens then when that job comes back at another time? You go through the whole cycle again unless you're really tracking everything well. And you also have to, this is not saying you don't want to make sure that your profiles are kept up to date on the machines, because they really run one and the same. For your color proofs to match, you got to make sure your machines are profiled and up to spec. So the challenges to be solved: inconsistent color. If you don't print those colors, send them through to the machines the same way. Longer make-ready times. If you're not tracking what was done for those colors, you're having to basically repeat a process again. The lack of customer visibility and approvals, and desperate designs and print production process. So separating, and you want to make sure that what you're tracking and you're getting on press, you know how to do again before it gets on the press, especially if you had to do color corrections at a later time. So color approval process, basically it's all over the place, right? You can have tons of different colors, yet alone our Pantone colors. We all know what Pantone's starting to do to us too, right? I'm sure we started to see that wonder what's happened. But you also have all your different colors of, your Coke reds or Home Depot oranges or whatever that color may be for another customer. How do you track that to make sure you're reproducing it the same every time? So basically, we talked about these things internally. We work very closely with Significans. They help us in a lot of automation areas. We work a lot within the ESCO products currently, so you have the automation engines, the web centers. And so we came to them and said, here's this problem we're having. How can we fix this? Let's work together and come up with something. And basically the solution to that is Virtual InkBooks. So Virtual InkBooks, we work together on it, and it's a virtual color library. So you can start tracking those different aspects that you have for the jobs within an electronic system that's then shareable. So, and it also kind of has that cloud-based Pantone to help with the Pantone problem. Okay? So basically, we can guarantee the color matching for our customers because those colors, the data is standardized. Not only now that it's in our core systems for workflow and how it's being tracked, it can be shared with whoever wants to look at those items in Web Center. For us, again, I'm going back to Web Center because that's our environment we're in. They've also built a universal solution outside of Web Center. So if you don't have the ESCO products, they still have a solution that will do somewhat the same. Okay, so again, the idea is we can track those colors, and with certain plugins we use, you can pull those colors back in. So basically, now that we have the Virtual InkBooks, our graphic artists are now all working with a standard color. So before, we had the standardization of what not only the color should be, we think it should be, what it was on the press and fixed to. Now, with the plugins we have in the Illustrator products from ESCO, they can look right at these colors and the whole gamut of colors we've stored in there, and they're all working with the same one. So the other problem that's solved is you have one designer, they would call it Coke Red, they had their own values, but the other person over here had updated values. So they're designing into something that went to press, and now your colors weren't matching because you have two different color callouts on two different people's machines. Here again, it centralizes it so that everybody's working with that same color. So you got the pre-flighting in the Virtual InkBooks. Again, as I was kind of talking to before, you want to focus on the lab values so you're getting more of the true color storage on what's being created. You're not dealing with the breakdowns of CMYK because those could even be a little flaky on their own, right? So you deal direct with the lab colors, and now you're storing those, and no matter which area you're working in, everyone's working now with the same values. And that was the biggest dilemma, was tracking them and having everybody work with the same information so that everything's going through correctly. So here's a quote they put in here for me. It's basically, it's what we just talked about, right? Not only you have to keep your equipment in tune, that's key. Because if you start changing your values to a machine that's out of spec, what are you doing? You're creating values that may not work on that machine exactly the same as you expected, because if it now it's in spec, they were changed to out of spec, you're gonna have a problem, right? So you know, not only with the importance of the machine, but it's important to keep that data in the background for the colors, and that's the Virtual InkBooks that we're talking about today. So in summary, it gives you the color matching, you get online approvals because you can put it in your workflows, you're shortening your production cycles, time savings for the work with the same variables, so you're not recreating the wheel. Repetitive use makes it real easy to use these, and you got that cloud-based Pantone and specialized colors. Pantone, again, we already know where that's going. We've been running it through our teams. Significance, we've really questioned this back. We should be in good shape when Pantone starts changing all your colors to black, right? Which is what they seem to be threatening. I don't know if they'll go through with it, but that's where it's at. And then one other item I want to talk about in here too was we created a workflow for a color swatch program. So if we need a color swatch for a customer, new customer, or that color has gone to press and now we want them to approve it, we created a workflow that kicks off and actually uses us jointly, finds the colors, creates the new color swatch for it, and prints those out in the press for signature off at a customer too, to be able to sign it that way. So you can start utilizing the data that's in the system, even within your own workflows. So with that, I do want to talk about, one more time, with Significance. We've worked with you guys, I think, 2 years now?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's about 2 years. They've really helped expedite our workflows and automation. You can't say it enough. We went into this with ESCO leading that charge for 2 years, and it was quite a challenge to get out of that bubble into the next, and they really helped us go to a whole different level where we're really using the system quite differently than what was first designed for us and used. So Significance has done a great job for us in that aspect. And that's what I got.